to the Most High. Whoa, whoa, yeah. I read in the Bible that obedience is better than sacrifice. So many didn't listen, and it's sad to say that they lost their lives. But I rather obey God than man. That's just my stance. The arms of flesh will fail you. You dare not trust your own. My desire is to do thy will, oh God. I don't wanna hear depart from me. When Yeshua comes, I wanna hear. I wanna hear. I wanna hear. Oh, I wanna hear. I wanna hear. I wanna hear. Oh, I don't wanna be like Saul. No, not at all. Just wanna be obedient to the Most High in all His commands. Oh, you work out of iniquity, why you won't be very pretty. Best to repent right now before Yeshua comes. How can you say you love God when you're not keeping His commandments? Right now you're lying, but on the judgment day you will be crying when you never hear. Welcome, you never hear. Oh, I wanna hear. I wanna hear. I wanna hear. Oh,
this is the Born of Levi experience on G.O.C.C. Media.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Peace and blessings, family. How we all doing? Welcome back to the Born of Levi experience. I'm your host, Deacon Hazak. We're back with another one. We want to give all praises be to the Most High. Let me put this one instead. We want to say all praises be to the Most High, the great I am that I am. And his name in the Hebrew tongue is Ahaya Ashur Ahaya. So welcome back to the Born of Levi experience. I'm your host, Deacon Hazak, once again. And we got a great show for y'all real quick. It's going to be a real quick one, not too long. You know, something to get you guys going, right? When society collapses, we're going to talk about it briefly. And basically, it's going to be the survival of the spiritually fit. You know, the saying is always survival of the fittest. Nah, in this society collapse that's soon to come, it's going to be survival of the spiritually fit. And we're going to talk about it real quick. But on your way in, please, brothers and sisters, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Right. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and we gonna get started, man. I really hope that you guys had a blessed week thus far. Right. We already in Thursday. Right. We're already in Thursday. And guess what, y'all? Passover is next week, man. I gotta clap it up for that, the Most High. Passover is next week. Already, man. I felt like we just came back from Passover, man. But it's gonna be a blessed Passover. I know everybody's gonna be blessed. That's gonna be there. Everybody's gonna look nice. Everybody's gonna come there with one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to serve the Most High. If you come in there for anything else, then you there for the wrong reasons, right? But listen, we're gonna talk about it, right? We're gonna talk about when society collapse. Right? Survival of the spiritually fit. And that's something that we all have to understand. Right? You know, we could watch videos all day and night about prepping and making sure you got a doomsday bunker and all of this stuff. But what good is all of that if your soul is not intact? Spiritually, you're not being guided. You just going off of what you see. And you making decisions based off what you're seeing going on all around you. And we've all been through an experience where people have made decisions based off of their current circumstances. And we're going to talk about that briefly. And the lasting effects that actual event actually had on all of us. So now, to jump right into it, right? Right. Thank you guys for coming in. Right. Shout out to everybody who's in here right now. I see all of the familiar names. Peace and blessings, man. I thank y'all for joining me and rocking out with me as we go into this topic, right? But to to put you up to speed as to why I came up with this topic, right? And it's funny because this conversation actually happened yesterday at work. And, oh man, I'm going to start it like this, right? I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers. And it's almost like from that conversation, I started to really sympathize with people who don't know what we know. And when I say people who don't know what we know, I'm talking about people who don't know Christ. Like, people understand that there was a man that the world calls Jesus Christ, right? But they don't really know this man. They don't really have a relationship with him. And the reason why I'm saying that, because I can tell, and you can tell that people don't really have a relationship with him because of how they speak and the things that they do. So basically, we was having a conversation, me and one of my coworkers having a conversation. Basically, he had a confrontation with another coworker. And, you know, and this brother, he's a very quiet brother. He keeps to himself, very polite. He don't say nothing. He don't say much to people, but you'll always find these individuals that try to get under your skin, you know, which a individual he actually came across at the job. Right. So, and as I'm talking to him, I can see the frustration. He's getting upset. He's getting uptight. And he was like, "Yo, don't mess with nobody." You know what I'm saying? And then he said, this is what sparked this conversation. These very next words that he said. He said, "Yo, man, I come to work because this is my peace." And then when he said that, I kind of looked at him. Then he said it again. He's like, "Yo, I don't bother nobody." He said, I come to work because this is my peace. And he looked at me. He said, "I know that sounds crazy, but yo, my life is crazy." This is what he said to me, y'all. He said, "My life is crazy. So I come to work to find peace." And then when he said that, I was like, I couldn't understand. Like, I understood, but for me personally, I can't understand that, because me coming to work is not my peace. I find peace from home, at home, as everybody should. I find peace in my family. I find peace in working and doing things for the Most High. But him, it's like he had to let out the frustration. Like, somebody was disturbing his peace, and his peace was basically work. And I had to sympathize with him, because I understood that he don't know what I know, and he may not have what I have. And I said to myself, if he's feeling like that, can you imagine all of the people who don't know what we know, how they feel? And before we continue, brothers and sisters, listen, if I'm coming in nice and clear, I know I didn't ask y'all this. I'm just trying to jump into this conversation. If I'm coming in nice and clear, please put a qualm in the chat for me, please. Let me know that I'm coming in nice and clear. I know I'm just jumping into the conversation. I didn't even get to ask y'all that. All right, good. All praises. Last week we was having some crazy difficulties, and I pray that it's not the same way. I pray that, we all good here. All right, good. All praises. Yeah. All right. So, jumping right back to the conversation, right? What sparked this conversation in my mind? So he told me that, him coming to work was his peace. And I didn't like look at him like, "Yo, man, you freaking crazy? Like, work is your peace?" But I had to sympathize with him, because at the end of the day, I don't know what he got going on outside of work. I don't know. And I realized that there's a lot of people who find peace or an escape by coming to work. Like, another example I could give you, another coworker. He has the most seniority out of everybody in the whole system. He's the number one guy. He has, I guess, I think over 50 something years on the job, and he's not retiring. And I remember one time I had a conversation. I'm like, "Hey, you ever think about retiring?" He was like, "For what?" That's what he said to me. He said, "For what?" And this man is well in his 80s. But I understand once I spoke to him, he really has nothing else to live for. Like, he's older. His wife passed away. All his children is grown. So he might as well just come to work. So I'm saying all that to say, what is going to happen to these type of people when society actually falls? And some people may believe that society may not fall. I mean, we got the scriptures that confirms that a lot of the things that we see on this earth will come to pass eventually. And since 2020, right, it's been even more evident that this place that we've called home is no longer feeling like home. A lot of things been going down, and it's like, yo, is everything okay here? And I said this before. I was like, what's going on in the earth right now? What this current administration is doing is just like they're putting a band-aid, like one of those small little circle band-aids on a wound that needs to be stitched up. That's exactly what's happening. When you look at the politics, you see what's going on. Oh, we trying to save the economy. They stealing money from up under us. Right? We got to shut down these departments. We're closing down the IRS. Matter of fact, we're giving everybody $5,000. Okay, well, I'll wait for that though, right? Right? It's like they're trying to bandage a wound that needs stitches. And I can only refer to the scriptures to get my source of information. Like, one thing is you can look at what they're doing, on the news, but without the scriptures and without the Bible to actually quantify what you're actually doing, what's actually happening. You know what I mean? There's no way to really understand what's really happening without a spiritual eye. Right? So this is why I want to talk about this conversation. And what's crazy is, after I had that conversation with that coworker, right, there was another incident that happened that same day, like literally probably like 10 minutes after, where there was this young man who was helping this lady in a wheelchair. And then I asked him, I'm like, are you her aide? And then he was like, no, I'm not her aide. I'm just helping her. And I looked and I asked the lady, I was like, is he your aide? He's like, no, he's just helping me. Then I looked at him and I said, yo, man, I'm like, yo, I appreciate you doing that, man. You're really a nice young man. And he thanked me. But then, like, literally 5 minutes after, he came back to me. He asked me, he said, why did you call me a nice young man? And in my head, I kind of was lost almost a little bit. Like, why would you, he said, why would you, why did you say that to me? But then I had to realize I may be dealing with somebody who may have mental issues, because, yo, we don't know. Mental health is a real thing, y'all. Y'all gotta be aware of this stuff. So instead of me looking at him and saying, yo, are you crazy? I kind of I started talking to him. And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, what you doing with that, with helping this lady in the wheelchair? I mean, that's very honorable of you, man. I was like, because we're living in a time where a lot of people is just not good people. And here it is, you're taking time out of your day and you're helping somebody that you don't know. I'm like, yo, you're a good young man. Like that shows that you have morals and you have standards and you care about people. And then he just started opening up to a complete stranger. Just started opening up to me and letting me know that he thanked me for telling him that, because he shies away from people giving him compliments. And then he started going into, his grandma. But then I realized, a lot of people don't have no one to talk to. So when you come out and you say nice things to people who don't expect it, it's like it almost throws off their equilibrium and their normal way of living. And I'm like, yo, and I said, we're in New York City. If he's out here randomly, how many other people is just like this guy right here, who don't know how to take compliments and is just trying to find his way, because he said he was struggling with trying to find a job and he didn't think that he was doing enough. And all this stuff just came out from me just saying to him, yo, you're a nice young man. You're a good young man. Keep up the good work. And it's like he needed to hear that. So now, with the interaction I had with my coworker, to the interaction that I had with another complete stranger, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, yo, what if none of this stuff was around anymore? What if this whole thing, like 5 years ago, was shut down? No one could go nowhere. What would happen with these people who find peace in coming to work? What would happen to him? What would happen to this young man who just looks to help and do good deeds? Now he's confined to a space where somebody is telling him you can't leave the house. What will happen to the society, to the spiritually unfit? What would happen to these people? And this is the topic of today, brothers. This is what we got talking. We gonna go into it real quick. It's like a race against time with me, right? But a lot of you got. Hold on, let me do this real quick. A lot of you guys remember, and it's not like you guys forgot, because it was only 5 years ago, and it's crazy that I'm even saying this was 5 years ago. Brothers and sisters, take a deep breath, and really say to yourself, wow, the pandemic was 5 years ago. Say that to yourself. It's crazy when you think about it. 5 years ago, we experienced a pandemic where the whole world was locked down and the whole world was unified with one agenda. 5 years ago. And if y'all can, brothers and sisters, on y'all way in, please do me a favor, hit the like button to drive the traffic, right? I know I'm on a little early, but listen, this is the time I'm on right now, but I may have some news for you guys. I think I may be coming on later again in the next 2-3 weeks, but we'll talk about that after this conversation, right? So now, a lot of us remember 5 years ago. And we remember how society was, how the world was. I mean, it's to the point where people are still affected to this day. And oh yeah, the same young man that I was talking to in the street, and that was helping the lady in the wheelchair, and I told him that he was a nice young man. The whole time I was talking to him, guess what he had on his face? A mask. I could barely see his face. So I understand that something happened to him psychologically where he felt sheltered, or he felt that he couldn't connect with society anymore. Where he had to ask me, why did I tell him that he was a good man? Like, we live in a time where people want to know these kind of answers. Like you want to ask me why I'm calling you good. This is how far removed we are from good being spread on the earth. No one is good anymore. Everybody is just doing their own thing, right? But scientists did a study. So it says here, why do scientists think that the COVID pandemic may have changed our personalities? And I believe it have. Not all of us. And I believe those who personalities it did not change were those who were self-aware. And when I say those who are self-aware, you can, to me, for what I understand, you can only be self-aware if you're aware of the God that you serve. No one is self-aware without a God. I can't understand that. Without a God, how can one actually be self-aware? Your self-awareness comes from a God telling you what to be aware of. So to be self-aware, you can't take the credit from the Most High, the Creator. It is not possible. Right? So for those of us who are self-aware and aware of our God, and we had direction, I don't believe that the pandemic really changed us to a certain extent as far as how we believe and how we think. I believe that the pandemic even gave us more clarity concerning this world that we live in. But for some people, it didn't do that for them. A lot of people, it didn't do that for them. A lot of people, it made them more bugged out. So they did a study, and I always saying this, I believe that this was just a test. The whole pandemic, that was a test. It was, believe it or not. But let's take a look at this video real quick.
Why do scientists think the COVID pandemic may have changed our personalities? There's no denying the pandemic was a major life event for almost everyone, whether you were infected or not. And now researchers collected data from more than 7,000 people looking at their responses before the pandemic, during, and now. They looked for various personality traits, everything from neuroticism to openness to agreeableness. What they found over the course of the pandemic was neuroticism increased, while there was a significant decrease in conscientiousness, agreeableness, openness, and extroversion.
So y'all see what the scientists claim people lost during the pandemic. Conscientiousness, right? Agreeableness, to be agreeable, openness, being open with people, and extroversion, right?
And extroversion, basically the qualities of someone with a positive attitude. The changes were most notable in young adults.
So a lot of people were less positive after the pandemic. And I know this for a fact because there was a couple of people that I know who were, pursuing degrees, right? And they couldn't continue with their degree because of certain restrictions. And when I say certain restrictions, taking the juice. If you didn't take the juice, you couldn't continue your studying. And that affected a lot of people mentally. Imagine you're about to pursue your dream job. But the only thing was standing between you and that dream job is a shot of juice. Okay. And yes, there were some people who took that shot of juice to pursue their dream jobs. And this is why I say the people who were not self-aware, they came to terms with whatever society gave them. And whatever they was pushing, I'm going to take it because I need to continue with this life. So now my thing is what's going to happen when society actually falls? Because 5 years ago, society did not fall. Like you were still able to leave your house. You were still able to shop online. You were still able to go see a movie 6 feet apart. Y'all remember those lines? Y'all remember standing 6 feet apart, lines around the corner, only letting a certain amount of people in stores at a time? This was social engineering, y'all. This was social engineering.
Researchers aren't sure why they were more affected, but theorize it's because their personalities are more malleable. While all this sounds like pretty bad news for the future, experts say they aren't so sure. According to CNN, researchers think the takeaway really should be that our personalities aren't set in stone. So while it may be looking kind of bleak right now, change is possible.
And that was weird. She said researchers said that our personalities are not set in stone. Hold on. Let me play that back. Play that back just a little bit. Personalities aren't set in stone. So what is this? When you see this right here, someone's personality is not set in stone, what does that tell you that person is? What kind of person that is? I just want to hear from y'all. I'll read it from the chat real quick. What do y'all think that means? Someone whose personality is not set in stone. Marquise just came out of nowhere, just came straight with it. Demon possession. Well, come on, tell me what schizophrenia. Okay, I like that. Bipolar, I like that. Wishy-washy, I like that one. Somebody said Legion. Unstoppable, flaky, yes. Unstable. Double-minded. Yo, all of these terms is great. Double-minded. Mentally ill. So y'all all had the same thought and theory. I boiled down to the same thing that you guys are saying. Someone whose personality is not set in stone, you one way one day and the next day don't talk to me. That's someone who's unstable. Now, can you imagine all of these people have been socially engineered through this experiment and has been released into the public, has been released into society. And now imagine when something else catastrophic happens that's beyond our control. These people will be is in society. These people are operating, have been socially conditioned to not have a set personality. Can you imagine what they would be doing during the next event? Scary.
So while it may be looking kind of bleak right now, change is possible since our personalities can respond to changes in our environment. The results also reveal we are not alone, and the past few years have been tough on us all. With the Why, I'm Brandy Smith.
That's enough of that. So I wanted to play that. Oh, this thing gonna keep showing. I gotta mute this thing. 1 second. It keeps on just popping up. All right, I turned it off. All right. So apparently these people are out here, and scientists have been studying the reactions of people since 2020 and how people are interacting with society now. It took and for some time where there was some people who still were unedged to be in public. Like I said, I've seen, like, it's crazy, but I see people to this day with mask on, but the mask is super dirty. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, what are you protecting? I mean, it looks like you're inviting more germs than anything. But they've been conditioned to have that thing on their face. And that's just on a smaller, lower level. Right? There was a pastor who Elder was talking about, who did not leave his house for the whole pandemic. And he's a pastor. So the question is, who was leading the church? Who was leading the flock? Who was leading them? Did he tell his members to stay in the house, don't leave your home? Did he do that too? Or so this thing, the people who were, like y'all was saying, unstable, right? Wishy-washy, right? These people were affected the most. And now they're operating amongst us. So now I'm thinking about this thing, like I said, going back to my coworker who finds peace at work. That's his peace. And like I said, I can't come down on the man because I don't know what he's dealing with outside of work. His family situation could be not the best, right? His living situation, I don't really know. But he finds peace coming to work. Me, I can't say that because I don't find peace going to work. My peace is, in my family, in the church, you understand, friends and families and stuff like that. And it's tough. But now what's going to happen to these people when there is no job to go to? And what's crazy is a lot of people don't even think that one day this whole thing could just end. A lot of people don't think like that. Right? As long as you could go to your concert, you could go to the next basketball game, you could watch the next latest movie that's coming out, you could watch the next boxing fight, because these things that they put out in the public, they have to put these things out in the public to keep us entertained, to keep our minds off of the real issues. So now, when these things no longer exist, and all you're left with is the issues that's in front of you, how do you survive? Who do you turn to? Right? Let me read this real quick. I'm going straight to the script. I got to read this scripture because that stuck out to me, where she said that a lot of people's personalities aren't set in stone, aren't fixed. Um, I mean, can I agree with that? Because they were saying that people personalities tend to change through experience. I don't think that's some, I can't really go into that real quick, but speaking about somebody who has an unstable personality, that don't seem like somebody who's all together, wrapped together tight. Right? All right, so I'm going here. Let me show y'all this. I want to read this scripture with y'all. As far as understanding this battle that we all face with, right? Right here. Let me go here. So I'm in Matthew. I'm in Matthew 7, right? I'm in Matthew 7. I'm gonna start at verse 21, but I really want to get down to verse 24. But listen to this. I want you guys to listen to this. Not everyone, right? Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, right? And it's not by accident when people get into trouble, the first thing that they call on is Jesus, or, oh God, please help. And after they get out the situation, yo, man, I can't believe I got into that. And they go right back to their lives. But you forgot about the person that you called on for help when you needed the help. But he said, not everyone that saith, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. But he that doeth the what? The will of my Father which is in heaven. So it's one thing to actively call on him, but to actually do what he say do. That's the thing. That's the part that people don't factor in. People don't factor in that, yo, I actually have to have a relationship with God. I got to actually do what God said. How can you say I have a relationship with somebody and you don't do what they say? It's like you in a marriage, but you're not listening to your partner. You're doing what you want to do. But yeah, I'm in this marriage though. How does that work? It doesn't make sense. It don't even make sense. It don't even make sense in the physical. But it says, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven, those are the ones who are going to enter in. He also said, Christ says, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have not we prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. He will tell them, depart from them, because why? You didn't really know me. You was just repeating something that you heard. You only called upon me when you were in trouble. You didn't really know me, right? So now this is what I really want to get right here. This is why we got to understand this. Therefore, whosoever heareth these words of mine and doeth them. See, there's a difference between those who hear and those who do. It's one thing to hear, but how many of us can hear and actually do? And it goes to show when the next event on this earth happens, a lot of people's going to call upon God. A lot of people's going to call upon the Most High. They're going to call upon Christ. But how can he hear you if you've never done what he's asked you to do, ever? Then the next thing they'll turn around and say, God don't exist. How can God exist? How am I going through this? You're going through it because you've never took the chance to actually follow and know what he wants you to do. How am I supposed to know what he wants me to do? He not talking to me. Yeah, he talks to us all the time. You have a Bible? You have a King James Version Bible? Yeah, I got one. You ever opened it and read it? It's the only way mankind will know what he actually is calling us to do. But the more you call it the white man's book, the more you say it's man-made, the more he's not going to help. I mean, it's just that simple. 1 + 1 = 2. So it says, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. Right? Listen to this. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. It didn't matter what came your way. You gotta take this unless you gotta take this shot, or you can't come in here. Where's your vaccine cards? Where's all of this? Listen, you can't come here. You gotta stand 6 feet apart. It don't matter what hit that house. Boom, 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 boom. You're gonna lose your job if you don't do this. Hitting the house. Boom, boom, boom. But your house was built on the rock. Yeah, don't fret. I got you. Don't worry about nothing. I'm here with you. And what it said? And when they beat upon that house, it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, listen clearly, and this is what's going to separate us from the rest of the world. And I'm telling you, what's coming on this earth is coming. None of us are stopping it. Like, not stopping it. You may think you're prepared, but how prepared are you if spiritually you're not prepared? Because you're going to fall every time the same way how everybody else is. They've done studies on this now, y'all. Scientists have proven that people's lives have been changed through traumatic events. And these are the people who have no leg to stand on. They don't have an outlet. They don't know where to turn. They find peace in medial things, in things that that won't exist forever. That's how people find peace. People are finding peace in things that will not last. Think about that. He says, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a what? A foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And we all have seen videos of houses that were built on beaches washing away. Like, y'all could have read Christ's parable and known not to put a house on the edge of the beach, on the sand. Christ would have told you not to do that. But who's Christ, right? Verse 27. It says, and when the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell. And what? And great was the fall of it. Great was the fall of it. So Christ is already showing us, and he's already telling us what's coming on the earth is not going to be the survival of the fittest. It's going to be the survival of the spiritually fit. And a lot of us that's watching this stream right now are witnesses to what it looks like being founded upon the rock. We understand that rock is Christ, because he said what? Anyone who hear my sayings and do them shall be likened unto a man who built his house on a rock. But people who don't find Christ's sayings and don't follow them and don't do them, these are the people whose houses are on sand. They're happy looking at the house. Yo, man, look, I built this house on the sand and it's standing right now. But when problems arises and that house is no longer there, what do you got to show forth now? And these are the people that's not spiritually fit for when society actually falls. So, look, this has been scientifically, scientists have been looking into this type of they've been looking into society falling for a long time, right? So this video, this is MIT has predicted that society will collapse in 2040. This is MIT, a prestigious university, right? So they did a study And this was not a recent study. This is a study that they've done years ago. So let me play this video real quick.
In 1972, researchers at MIT concluded that society was on track to collapse by the year 2040. A follow-up study conducted by an analyst at KPMG found that we are ahead of schedule. Advanced human civilizations have existed for, at best, 10,000 years. In that time, many great empires rose from nothing and returned to nothing, leaving behind little more than artifacts and crumbling architecture. While it's hard for historians to definitively say what caused any of these particular collapses, the determining factors tend to fall into four broad categories: political issues, social and cultural issues, environmental issues, and of course the one that we're specifically interested in, economic issues.
So the collapse of a society or any economy is these four issues right here. Political issues, which we all can see in our face. Like, what was it? I think it was yesterday. Trump was speaking to the House of Congress, where both Democrats and Republicans have to be there in attendance. And the noise that the Democrats were making of how upset they were that he was saying what he was saying, and you could just see the heightened climax of this political issue that we got going on, not just here at home, but even abroad. That last conversation that he had with President Zelensky of Ukraine, the fiery exchange that they had, so we could see these things, right? It also says social and cultural issues, right? We see that also happening, right? The social aspect of things, of where this whole gender equality stuff, and you gotta recognize me from my gender, or my gender, excuse me. Cultural issues, environmental issues, what they call climate change and all of this stuff, but it could be other things with that, and economic issues. And as of late, we've been finding out what they've been doing with our tax dollars. How a lot of the money that we've been paying into taxes cannot even be accounted for, and has been siphoned out of the country through fictitious government departments and agencies.
Any civilization that has been reduced to little more than an entry into a textbook fell through some combination of these four factors. Some were almost instantaneous, the great city of Pompeii succumbing to the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Some took a few weeks. The Aztec Empire collapsed after 93 days of resistance against the Spanish. And some took centuries. 300 years separated the height of the Roman Empire with its eventual collapse. Our modern civilization is the greatest ever known, hundreds of thousands of times wealthier and more advanced than even the most massive empires of history could have imagined. If you are watching this video, you have access to the internet. If you have access to the internet, you have access to a source of knowledge that scholars and kings could not have dreamt of just 100 years ago. The same is true for other modern luxuries that we take for granted: climate control, worldwide travel, cheap and effective clothing, medicine, instantaneous communication, plentiful and safe food, water on tap, and even little luxuries like being able to listen to your favourite song pretty much whenever you feel like it. A question I get asked a lot is, who is the richest person in history? The answer? Elon Musk. Or it was about a week ago when he was worth more than $270 billion. That might have changed depending on when you actually watch this video. Oh, but what about Rockefeller, the Rothschilds, the Romanovs, or even this Mansa Musa fella that people keep on bringing up? What about them? Sure, they were rich for their time, but their time was one of almost universal poverty. Despite their relative wealth, they couldn't dream of all the amenities that you think nothing of. Let me tell you, if I had the choice between my modern, rented 2-bedroom apartment and a sprawling 15th century French palace with no air conditioning, no plumbing, and no food that wouldn't give me cholera, I would take the apartment 10 times out of 10, and you are a fool if you wouldn't do the same. The best part is I haven't even mentioned war yet. Despite what most people might think based on their diet of cable news on the front page of Reddit, we are living through one of the most peaceful periods in human history ever. Overwhelmingly, this is all.
He said we are living in one of the most peaceful periods in history ever. And like the scripture tells us, when they shall say peace and safety, what? Then cometh sudden destruction. So is there a reason for that, for the peace and the safety that we having right now, so-called, so to speak. Look at that chart right there. Look at the 1940s, right? The waning of wars, right? Look at it. Look from the 1940s to 1950s. Then it came back up in the 60s, a little bit in the 80s, and now look at the 2000s. It's like nothing else matters. It's just about here, social media, right? Everybody is being an entertainer. And that's the thing. Like, what's going to happen to these people, right, who make a living based off of content creation? They've created this whole persona, this whole person through social media. What happened when that's gone? What do they become? Where do they go?
All been thanks to a combination of technology, education, and global cooperation. Even nations that have resentful hostilities bubbling away beneath the surface are more dependent on one another today than even the closest of allies were back in the time of Napoleon. Why get hostile when you can get rich? It sounds vapid, but it's a good thing, albeit a fickle one. Comparing our modern global economy to even the greatest empires throughout history is like comparing a jet engine to a donkey. That's not hyperbole, that's...
All right, he rambling now. But the part that I really wanted to show y'all is that they've been studying this since 1972. That the rate that this country is going, it could only sustain itself supposedly until 2040. That's what they're saying. We understand that they're planning or prepping society for what's to come during for 2030. Less than 5 years away from that. So are they saying another 10 years from that, then that's when things will collapse? Who knows? I don't know. But for the people who don't have Christ, what's going to happen to them? Right? Oh, let me see this. Oh, I got to play that. Hold on. I don't know. All right. Yeah, this is what I want to play next. Listen to this. This is the next one I wanted to play. Is a short. What this brother was saying was very it made a lot of sense. But just listen to this though. Let me play it back from the top.
I don't know when the American Republic fell, but it became very clear, undeniably clear to me on January 6, 2021, that we were not just an empire, but we were the late stages of empire. Once I got that, then I'm like, oh, now everything makes sense. This is empire collapse. The baseline of what's coming is going to be chaos, broken supply chains. That's kind of the best case scenario, is just more of what we saw in 2020.
How long did it take for you to realize that your bug out place in the North Carolina mountains?
January 6, 2021.
Explain why that's not adequate.
Because when empire collapses, the thing that matters most is community. Who are you around? What skills do they have? What skills do you have? How well can your group band together and endure the tumultuous chaos until some new steady state arises? And having a cabin in the woods is the opposite of community. But if you go study End of Empire and you study people who've lived through intense chaos, they all say the same. I don't know when the American Republic fell.
I don't know if y'all was listening to what he said. He basically was saying when society collapses, it's not gonna be the best case scenario is not every man for himself. And there's some people out there who only are thinking about themselves. They'll see an event take place and they'll up and leave and just leave everybody. I mean, I'm out. Just them and their family by themselves. Just I'm gone. So somewhere in some remote area, yeah, we good. But he said in a situation of societal collapse, what's more sustainable is what? Community. He said what's more sustainable is community. How well can you operate with your brother or your sister? How well can you operate in a communal setting where you got this, I got this, let's put it together. Now we have all of these, right? And one scripture that come to mind that he said that, I always refer to this scripture. Let me read this for y'all real quick. I'll read with y'all real quick. In Hebrews 10. Right here. Hebrews 10 and 24 says, and let us consider one another. That's what the scripture says. So what he was saying was actually scriptural. Right? And it's funny that he understood that without having to be super deep into the scriptures. But we have the scriptures, so we actually need to understand that. We need to have that state of mind. We need to have that mindset. He said, the scripture says, and let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to what? Good works. What? Not forsaking. Y'all know what it means to forsake? It means to walk away from. It's nothing. Leave it alone. Ignore. Right? Turn away from. It says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more, even more now, as ye see the day approaching. What day? What's before us all? The collapse of a society. I'm telling you, it's not going to be the survival of the fittest. You could have your like he said, you could have your one-man cabin in the woods somewhere. Let's see how long you last there by yourself, with no outside interaction. Like y'all remember that movie Castaway? Y'all remember that movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, where the man, where I think it was I remember if it was a plane crash or whatever cases, and it was a plane crash, and he was in some remote island by himself, and he had to survive on this island by himself, to the point where he had a Wilson volleyball, which became his best friend, Wilson. Y'all remember that scene? And when Wilson was drifting, he lost Wilson, like trying to escape the island. He lost Wilson. Wilson floating the wheel. Wilson! He crying for Wilson. He had to make up a whole person by him. He had to make up a whole person from a volleyball. He cut the top of the head of the ball, put leaves in it. It became a person. He drew a smiley face on it. Wilson, yeah. If you the one man cabin person, you gonna have to have a couple of Wilsons in there with you. That's what you're gonna become. If you think that you don't need nobody, I could do this by myself. But be prepared to have Wilson. You're gonna have Wilson. You're gonna have Spalding. All of them. You're gonna have to create imaginary friends. So, the scripture actually tells us to not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. That's the only way we could build a proper community. That's the only way I could know, or I will be able to know what you're good at if I see you working all the time. Right? Oh yeah. Yep. Like Mike 144 says, Will Smith in I Am Legend. Yeah. Remember Will Smith? My man was going to a store, a store to go talk to a mannequin. My man was trying to bag a mannequin, trying to get the number from the mannequin. Y'all remember that? That's real. That's real stuff. You keep it up. You think you're not gonna be Will Smith trying to bag a mannequin, creating imaginary friends and all of that. That's gonna be you. My man was going into the store, talking to her and acting shy with the mannequin. But that's how you know. Yo, you know what his character fell into? It fell into the people who were their personalities were unstable through an event. Because what was the event? Society collapsed in New York. Right? He was the last man there. It was just him and a whole bunch of zombies. Or what they call to be zombies. And through that traumatic experience, he developed a different personality. He wasn't always like that. So we can narrow it down and say that Will Smith's character in the movie I Am Legend was not spiritually stable. My man really created a whole imaginary friend. He made an imaginary friend, and he had his dog. Once he lost the dog, and y'all see what happened when he lost the dog. He went crazy. He almost lost everything. So we gotta take heed to what the scripture says, not forsaking ourselves, so we don't create imaginary friends. Wilson and them. All right. Yeah, it sounds funny, but it's the reality. Some people is gonna be like that, right? And what's crazy is there's people that's people on the earth right now that's operating amongst you that's already like that. Okay, there's people who's already like that. Hold on, right? Let me play this one. Play this video for a little bit. So it's very important for us to understand how to be spiritually grounded, how to be spiritually fit. And matter of fact, before I play this video, before I play this video, I gotta read this with y'all again. I'll read it with y'all again, so we could understand. For anybody who's now coming in and didn't see when I read this earlier, y'all understand. Right? Christ told us in Matthew's how to stay spiritually fit, how to stay grounded in the midst of chaos. He said, therefore, whosoever heareth these words or these sayings of mine and do with them, you have to do them. That means a lot of us have a lot of changing to do. And that's what it is. A lot of us don't want to change. We like the people that we've become. But in the eyes of the Most High, the people that we've become is heinous. It's abominable. And he don't want nothing to do with that. And the thing is, we don't understand. People don't understand. We got to conform our existence and our lives to be like him. The Most High don't got to conform to us. We got to conform to him. He created us. And if you don't understand that, then you're going to fall into this category right here. He says, therefore, whosoever heareth these words or these sayings of mine and do of them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house on a rock. And when the rain descend and the floods came, see, tribulation, when all of these things come, famine, all of this stuff comes, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and do of them not, this is going to be you, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon sand. And we know the outcome and what happens to houses that's built on sand. One hurricane comes and your house is floating in the middle of the sea. That's you. Wilson and everybody in there gone. All right? That's you. Wilson gone. Mannequin gone. Right? So let's look at this video. This video was titled Surviving an Economic Collapse. An economic one. Because that first video we played showed that there's 4 stages to an actual full society collapse. So this one he's saying is an economic one.
In the first part of this 2-part video series, we discuss signs to look for that could be a precursor to an economic collapse. Warning signs like civil unrest, unemployment, cost increases, homelessness, and housing affordability, food shortages, and more are accelerating and growing in magnitude.
And I feel like they were engineering an economic one, an economic collapse. They were engineering that. From the whole letting in all of these migrants from across the world. I mean, and it wasn't only from South America and Mexico where migrants was coming from. There was a video that was out where there was a guy at the border filming, and there was nothing but Chinese people coming in, migrants. So it wasn't just Mexicans that was coming through the borders, y'all. It was everybody, Mexicans, Chinese, Ukrainians, everybody, the whole boatload of them. So like I said, I feel like they was engineering a economic collapse, which would lead to a social collapse and a cultural one, because all of these different cultures coming in and invading your space, they'll change the culture of your neighborhood. And it's like, yo, what the heck is going on here? But I believe they was engineering that economic collapse, letting them in, right? Giving millions and billions to house them. Where is that money coming from? That money was coming from the U.S. government. Funds that was allocated for your city was given to them. So now you giving the money to them. What happens to you now? What happens to the money to upkeep your city? Economic collapse. Jobs. Funding for your jobs. An economic collapse. I feel like I believe they was engineering that. And now with this whole DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, where they came and they was exposing all of the money that was being taken out of the country, they was trying to engineer one. Is it too late? Is it too late to save it? They like I said, they could only put a band-aid on a wound that needs to be stitched. That's all they're doing right now.
They could quickly be approaching a tipping point. Nations, well, they rise and fall. They seem invincible and immortal when they are riding high, yet they may hide a rotting core. No country is eternal and no economy is invincible. An economic collapse is not confined to a small area. It is, well, a global crisis. Suppose the economy of one major nation falls. In that case, the fragile connections it has between importing and exporting countries dry up, and the economic drought can spread around the globe, leading to the failure of more economies. In this video, we will examine the fundamentals of what you need to survive the lengthy collapse. I can't cover every essential in one video, so I hope to give you the basics here to get you moving in the right direction. When the house of cards collapses, will you be prepared and ready? Please consider subscribing to our newsletter by clicking.
And I'll definitely, you know what I'm gonna do? I'll do that right now. I'm gonna put the link to this particular video if you want to watch it on your own time. I'll put it in the chat, and y'all will be able to continue watching it. How do I copy this thing?
Clicking on the link in the description and
I'll put it in the chat for y'all.
And comment section below. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and click the like button to help the channel grow. Food. Easily the essential prep in your inventory is food. When shortages hit, nothing will be more valuable than food. The failure of the food supply chain and the growers' ability to get their product to stores, manufacturers, and restaurants will plunge millions into instant hunger and desperation. The average American eats out about 4 or 5 times per week by conservative estimates. This results in dependence upon prepared food sources and a decrease in food on hand in kitchen cabinets and refrigerators, especially the non-perishable kinds of foods. Almost 50% of Americans do not have emergency supplies to turn to when the food supply chain is severed.
And, you know, as a church, we've been preaching this for a while, to make sure you guys have at least 3 to 6 months worth of storage of food in your homes. We've been telling y'all, right? Make sure you guys have at least 3 to 6 months. You know, that's a little nest egg. You never know, right?
Those that do typically only have a standard 72-hour kit, or they're thinking the cans of soup and the bag of rice they have in their cabinets but never touch will get them through. For a short duration disaster with a swift recovery, it probably will. That 72-hour kit could last you a week if you stretched it out and combine it with your drawer of ketchup packets and restaurant hot sauces. You could run at a caloric deficit for about a week, but then what? As you prepare for a prolonged economic collapse, think of food in 3 ways: sustenance, time, and as a commodity. First, you need enough to sustain yourself. While you will be scaling back your caloric consumption, as your current diet is probably too calorically rich to begin with, your first way to think of food is calories and nutrition. Do you have enough calories and nutrition for you, your family, and your animals? 72 hours worth will get you through many natural disasters because they can be stretched, rationed, and you can even run at a caloric deficit for a week or two. That buys you sufficient enough time to make it through many natural disasters with a swift recovery, but a nation's economic collapse is different. The uncertainty, chaos, and implosion of food supply chains will leave most of the population dependent upon and fighting over whatever government relief efforts materialize.
And another thing too, there are some people out there too who knows something is coming, right? Listen to this. There's some people that's out there who know something is coming. And their mindset is, yo, I'm just going to take it when it's time. There's people that's best believe there are people who are thinking like that. Prepare. All right. I'm going to show y'all prepare. I'm just going to take it. And there's going to be people out there who's going to just move like that, going to operate like that. And we see how it unfolds every time they riot. Right? Like you rioting or peaceful protesting, then it turns into a riot, and then it turns to you looting. How does looting have anything to do with fighting for justice? But that goes to show you the mentality of people. They're looking for an opportunity.
To see what that looks like, you only need to see the relief trucks overwhelmed and riots for food and water in any third world country. That's not a position you want to be in if you want to survive. So make sure you have the calories and nutrition you need to sustain you and yours for 3 days. Then build it slowly to 3 weeks, then 3 months, then a year. I have other videos on this channel where I break down how to build 1 year of food storage. On my website, there are spreadsheets you can download to help you work towards this goal. I'll put a link in the comments below. Because once you have the calories stored for a year or more, you also need to consider the shelf life and duration. You can likely stretch your supply out if you only know how to forage, hunt, or fish, and there are periods where you can safely do this. You'll need to develop those skills now, which I'll talk about later. However, here I want you to consider the duration of an economic collapse disaster. The Great Depression lasted about a decade. Very few of us can store up that amount of food. And as I said,
the Great Depression lasted for 10 years. This was like during the 1930s. So 10 years.
You'll probably be able to stretch and supplement your supplies even with the increased competition for resources. When others are fighting over the last bean or last grain of rice at the store, you could be buying up the sunflower seeds for planting or harvesting broadleaf plantain and dandelion from the wild. Think of food as a resource you will need to stretch out and resupply outside traditional ways. When you stock your shelves now in preparation for a possible economic collapse, do it with an eye toward the longest shelf life possible. Freeze-dried foods like vegetables and fruits, they can provide you with vital nutrients for several decades when the store aisles are barren and farmers are no longer planting or harvesting.
Right, so this is more so on how to sustain yourself if worst case scenarios there is a collapse. I'm gonna put this, like I said, I'm gonna put this in the chat so you guys could actually have it and refer back to it and watch it if you want. Put it in the chat. It's in the chat right now, that the link to that video that I just played, right? But what's even much more sinister to this whole conversation, and what I've seen, or what we all been seeing, like we read the scriptures, and it's one thing to read the scriptures, and there's another thing to read the scriptures and actually start to see these things play out. What am I talking about? Yo, matter of fact, and I'm gonna play this video right now. This is gonna be the last video I play. And shout out to my aunt from Orlando, brother Johan, right? Who sent me this video, earlier today. And it had to be the spirit that he said that, because I'm like, yo, if this is not Revelations 13 right here in our face, or part of it, I don't know what is. And I remember, and I'm gonna play this video too. I remember, give me 1 second. I remember Elder bringing this out and speaking about how they're gonna use this technology, especially on prison inmates. right? For those of you guys who already know, y'all already know where I'm going with this, right? So shout out to my aunt from the Orlando body who sent me this video earlier today. Brother Yahan, right? Take a look at this video, man. I ain't even gonna say too much.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Did you know they have a futuristic prison in the United States that's designed to treat inmates like patients? It allows them to serve their time in just 7 minutes, no matter what the sentence is. 1 year, 100 years. They can serve their sentence in 1 year.
Y'all heard what he just said? Don't that joint look like the Matrix? When they had everybody, when they had all other people in pods and they were all hooked up to the machine and in there, so they was living in their minds, but their physical being was being nourished through machines. They were being kept alive by a machine, but their consciousness was in a machine, was in a computer program. Now they have a prison that's similar to that, where you could serve your time all in your mind, and they have technology where you could serve the time in your mind, and it seems like you've been there for years, but it's only been like 7 minutes. That's crazy. And I think it's a chip he was saying. Hold on.
Should they elect to go into the program, the criminals will have a choice to spend 10 years behind bars or 100 years behind bars, or they can make the choice to get artificial memory implanted in their brain. This process is called cognify, and the intent of it is to treat the criminal like a patient. They're putting chips inside of human beings' brains right now, and they're trying to change the person's brain chemistry. After this process,
but the thing is, we knew that they were doing that. Remember, if you've been keeping up with this channel, we've been following and tracking Elon Musk and Neuralink. Y'all remember that? Y'all know about Neuralink, where they have successfully already been testing this, and they already have a couple of people with chips in their brains through Neuralink. And here it is. There's this new program he got. I'm gonna see what he called it. Let me go back a little bit.
Trying to change the person's brain chemistry. After this process, brain treat the criminal like a patient. They're putting chips inside of human beings' brains right now, and they're trying to change the person's brain chemistry. After this process, when they re-enter into society, they'll be new and reformed, and they won't even be capable of committing another crime. The chip can make the patient feel empathetic.
That's crazy. So they have a chip that can alter how that person thinks. And remember, there was this program that or this so-called vaccine that they was coming out with. I don't know if they did it already, if it's already out, where it could go in and delete the so-called God gene that we all have. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that story? Now they got it in a chip, where the chip can control how you think and how you feel, and they're gonna be offering this to prison inmates in exchange for doing time.
Depending on the severity of the crime. The chip can also make you feel emotional, physical pain of the victim and the family members. You can feel what they felt. The process only takes about 7 minutes, but to the patient, it feels like it's been years. Last year, The United States spent $8.7 billion of your taxes on the prison. They said that this new prison is going to help save money on health care and education. Furthermore, they said that because so many people are going to be reformed, there'll be less crimes committed, and we all will be safer because of this. All right, fam, who with it? Give me a thumbs up if you're down with it. Thumbs up if you're down. Thumbs down if you say, hell no, man. They trying to pull the wool over my eyes. Trying to bamboozle.
He said, put a thumbs up if you're down with that. Have everybody, have these people chipped up and sent back into the public society where their minds are being controlled through a push of a button. I'm trying to go back and hear what was the name of the process. Hold on, give me 1 second.
1 year, 100 years. They can serve their sentence in 1 year, should they elect to go into the program. The criminals will have a choice to spend 10 years behind bars or 100 years behind bars, or they can make the choice to get artificial memory implanted in their brain. This process is called cognify.
Okay, cognify. So basically they would have that choice whether or not, right? Let me get this. Whether or not if they want to serve their prison sentence, like let's say a convicted felon or whatever, murderer, whatever you want to call them, right? They go to trial and they get sentenced to 20 years. They could come to them and be like, "Yo, listen, man, I know you made a mistake. It's an honest mistake." But we do got this program that we releasing on inmates, and you could do half of your time and be released. But all you got to do is just go through this trial that we're releasing to the public. Oh yeah, what is it? So you mean I don't got to be in here? Yeah, not necessarily, but in your mind, you'll be in jail. It's called cognify. I could just see it in a movie. That's how my mind is working. Let me see if I could cognify. Let's see. Let me pull up the article here. What is an actual article for this thing? Look at this. Give me 1 second. All right. Look at this. Cognify. Can I make it bigger on the screen? Let me make it bigger for y'all. I didn't even know this was a thing. This is crazy. I'm gonna do, and listen, we have to do a part 2 on this. We definitely gonna have to do a part 2 on this, because this is insane. He sent this to me. I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, yo, how are they even allowing this? Hold on 1 second. All right, there you go. Cognify. Cognify is a prison concept. So they say it's a concept, but I believe they already have the technology for this. But Cognify is a prison concept that uses artificial intelligence, AI, to treat criminals through brain implants and virtual reality. Can you imagine? Like they could put anything in their brains. How it works. Prisoners can choose to receive. Listen, look at this, y'all. This is insane. How it works. Prisoners can choose to receive brain implants and AI generated memories instead of serving a traditional prison sentence. Have anybody else heard of this? This is crazy. This is a sci-fi movie. The memories are tailored to the individual's crime. Yo, brain structure and psychological profile. The implants target neural pathways that control memory, thinking, and logical thoughts. The memories are designed to trigger emotions like empathy, remorse, or understanding. Benefits and concerns. Cognify can reduce reoffending rates and cut costs. It could allow prisoners to finish their sentence in minutes instead of years. Minutes? Nah, I don't like the sound of that. I mean, that person could possibly end up permanently as a vegetable, where they can't even use. How you gonna make me serve a 20-year sentence in 7 minutes or in a couple of minutes? What are you doing to my brain? However, there are ethical concerns about using technology to alter human consciousness. There are also concerns about wrongly accused people being forced to relive trauma. That's another thing too. This is crazy. We definitely got to look into this. This is wild crazy. Cognify. And like I said, it's one thing to read it in scripture, but then to see it play out, see it how it's coming out. How is it coming to fruition? Right? We didn't think about this. The scripture tells us that no man would be able to buy or sell lest he had the mark in his forehead or in his right hand or in his hand. Right? But what if they go further? They go a step further with the technology and just input it in your brain, and we could be able to control you, control your thoughts. And now imagine these people have been released in society with a controlled mind. They could possibly be used as a surveillance tool to send them in different areas, and they'll use those people with the chips in the brain as surveillance against you when society falls. Listen, I'm just saying it. But the possibilities is not like it's not impossible. Possibilities is endless, y'all. What's happening? This is why it's important for us to stay spiritually fit. Because where does the spirit, you see what's crazy? Where does the spirit resides, brothers and sisters? In the mind. So now if they have control over your mind, there ain't no way you'll be able to stand against whatever they got coming. If they already got your mind, right? If they already got your mind, listen, brothers and sisters, we in the end times. Listen, it's getting crazy. It is getting crazy out there. And brothers and sisters, please do us a favor also. Before I forget, man, Cognify. This is crazy. I gotta look into that a little bit further, because that is insane, bro. That is insane. Cognify? All right. Listen. And brothers and sisters, also don't forget to do us a favor. If you haven't enrolled in the Hebrew and Bible Academy, please do so. Right? The academy has started already February 16th. Right? But it's not too late to enroll. You can visit us at historytimes.org and enroll, and you'll be sent all of the prior lessons. Right? The theme of this installment of the academy is the War of the Gods, brothers and sisters. The War of the Gods. Right? We're going to go into in-depth lessons, the origin of angels, the reason Adam fell, the true understanding of the Antichrist, the true doctrine to the Gentiles, and much more interviews and much more. You don't want to miss out, man. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You got the conversational Hebrew with Elder Lawya. You got the news segment. And listen, the news is top notch. Like, it's not like what you see going on right now. It's real in-depth news, going into it with a spiritual lens with Elder Shaphat and Elder Rawchaa. And then you got the main lesson with Elder Rawchaa and Elder Lawya. So you don't want to miss out. This is how you're going to stay connected, brothers and sisters. This is how you're going to stay spiritually grounded. This is how you're going to stay spiritually fed, changing your mind. This is basically new education that you got to really put yourself through, so you could be able to withstand in these last days of what's coming. Like we read earlier in Matthew 7, what Christ said, we gotta hear the words and actually do them. So you don't want to miss out, brothers and sisters. You want to stay connected. You want to stay tapped in. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. Visit us at historytimes.org. Man, you don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss it. I want to play this at the end. I want to drop it. Right. But brothers and sisters, like, unfortunately, I can't take calls. I would love to, but the way my schedule is set up, I can't really do that unless I could go to work in my mind, right? Can you imagine? But listen, you know what I mean? But we definitely, I'm definitely gonna, this is another conversation that we definitely gotta have. I want to do a part 2 on this. And I already know next week is going to be a real tricky week for a lot of you guys, a lot of us. A lot of you guys will be getting ready to head over to the Passover. Right, ready to head for the Passover. That's not what I want to play. I got all my sounds all over the place. Right, a lot of you guys will be heading over to the Passover. Unfortunately, this year, brothers and sisters, I won't be there. I wish I had a sad sound emoji, or whatever you want to call it, sound system or sound. Right, this year, unfortunately, I won't be there. I know. It's tough. I'm going to miss all you guys, but I'm going to be there in spirit. I'm definitely going to be there in spirit, brothers and sisters. I'm going to be right with y'all on YouTube land. So AC and the whole crew, y'all better make sure y'all have the visuals on point this year. All right. Make sure there's no lagging. I ain't skipping a beat, nothing. I want to feel like I'm going to be there. But when life happens, these are the decisions that things that we gotta make. Got a brand new baby in the house. It's gonna be tough. So I already know it's gonna be a great Passover. It's gonna be a blessed, fun-filled, spirit-filled Passover. So I'm gonna try my best to come on that Thursday, but I know a lot of people's gonna be busy. But it would be good for me to come on that Thursday. To lighten up the mood, whatever the case is. But I'm looking forward to the Passover, whether I'm there physically or not. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see the outcome. I can't wait to see how y'all look and the performances and the lesson and everything that comes with Passover, man. But y'all have a blessed one. I really appreciate you guys coming in. But this is my time. I gotta get ready to hit the plantation. You know what I mean? Like, I still got to make ends meet. But brothers and sisters, I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Stay prayed up and sin not, right? Yes, Khan, they do grow up fast. I'm going to try my best to enjoy them. Shout out Joe Bud, yes. Right? Shout out Joe. But yeah, man, I'm and I know a lot of people would probably be looking forward to meeting me for the first time. But listen, it ain't the end of the world, right? Most High willing, we'll be there next year, and then the following year, and then the year to come, and then hopefully then the kingdom, right? But y'all have a blessed one. Y'all have a blessed weekend as well too. Don't forget to keep the Sabbath holy, right? Understand that. Right? And don't forget to not forsake the assembling of ourselves. We see the day approaching. What's going to be best in that day, in those times, is what? Communal living. Knowing what we all can do, what our gifts, what our talents are, and bring them together so we could get past this craziness. Because none of us are standing in the way of it. And there were some scriptures that I wanted to read that I didn't even get a chance to read. I was going to go into second address, but like I said, we'll do a part 2 of this and we'll talk about it some more. But with that, I'm going to have to leave y'all with that. Bid y'all all Godspeed. Have a blessed rest of your day, brothers and sisters. Stay prayed up. Sin not. You can be angry, but sin not as well too, right? Because we got to go out in this world. We got to be out here in these streets, and we're going to see some things that's going to make us angry. But don't let that anger, or don't use that occasion of your anger to cause you to sin, right? So be protected out there, brothers and sisters. Listen, there's a lot of crazy people out there. Listen, there's a lot of crazy people out there. There's a lot of people who's dealing with mental health, the mental issues, right? You want to be you try to be as passive as you can. Try to de-escalate as much as you can, right? Yeah. Let's do this thing, right? So most high willing, I'll see y'all all next week. And those of you guys who are traveling to Passover, travel safely. Get there safely, and may Yeshaya and all of the angels be with you on your travels. Right? That's my time on the Born Levi Experience here on G.O.C.C Media. I'm your host, Deacon Hazak, and I'm out. Peace. Have a blessed day. I'll see y'all.